Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. I am Sumit and I'm wishing you a very warm and happy new year in advance. And today I am going to show you a very simple, pretty basic, yet a very eye-catching video tutorial on creating a candlelight animation that that will look like a very professional renderings, as you can see right now. In this scene, I haven't used any smoke simulation, a very basic animation, a very basic workflow in order to create this sort of animation. So it's a pretty beginner type, or it's a pretty basic type of animation renderings. So without any further ado, let's get started by opening up Blender. So here I am in my Blender software, and I'll get down to business by just clicking away from my home screen. And first things first, let me turn on my screencast key for the convenience of the workflow that I'm doing. And as usual, I'll delete every default objects present in the 3D scene by hitting A to select everything and delete them. Now for the modeling of the candle, I will be adding a cylinder. For the cylinder, I will be taking the vertices to be about 16 because I don't want very high quality candle. And for the cap fill type, I will select triangle fan. Yeah, triangle fan. And we're having done all these settings. Let me get straight to the edit mode because I want the origin point to the base of this model rather than out of the center of the model. So I'm just selecting every vertices, hit G to move and press Z to lock the moving to the Z axis, and then press numpad 1 and then hit enter. So now my candle or the mesh that I've created has got a base, has got its origin right on the base. Let me rename that as candle body. Yeah, candle body. And although it is not looking any kind of although it's not resembling anything like a candle, so it's now time to scale it up according to the Z axis. S and Z to just increase the size a little bit, maybe till there, and then go to edit mode. And let me just introduce a loop cut right on the top, right about there, and at the bottom, right about there. Okay, having done these initial steps, it's now time to sculpt this thing or this cylinder to be resembling something like a candle. Now you can do that. There are a lot of steps to create this kind of a create a candle. One, you can sculpt them if you are good enough to sculpt. Then you just have to go to sculpt mode, where you will sculpt all these things and just introduce or just tweak the settings as you want. But I don't want that kind of thing because I'm a lazy guy. So I'll leave everything up to Blender to create that kind of jagged or rough edged and crevices around this candle, because in order to represent that kind of a wax or the waxy layers one above the other. So I'll be using a modifier which will be obviously a displacement modifier, and then I'll click on this little button which will automatically direct me to the texture tab. And for the texture, I'll be selecting clouds, and for the size of the clouds, I'll be giving 1.3 in order to increase blendness between these two channels. And I can see that it's not looking too nice because of the fact that we need to introduce another modifier, which will be a Subsurf Modifier, and send this Subsurf Modifier over on the top of this Displacement Modifier. So clicking on this will give the priority on, will send this Subsurf Modifier on top of this Displacement Modifier, and I'll just increase the subdivisions to about level 2 and select on smooth shading. You can see that the candle has been shaped with a lot of crevices, but one thing is weird. What is that? That is on the face. I have got the crevices as well, and I don't want the face to be creviced, to be this kind of a jagged body flow or edge flow. So in order to achieve that kind of an effect, let me go to the tab mode, edit mode, by hitting tab and selecting these edge flow and then this vertex. And if I'm clicking Control I, then everything will be selected inversely, or the inverse selection, and then assign a new vertex group, rename them as a group, or leave the name as a group as well, and then click on assign. So my vertex group has been created. Now it's time to apply these displacement modifier over the vertex group. So clicking on this little button, if I select a group, you can see that my base has become untouched, but everything else has got displacement all over it. And if you want to increase the details of your displacement modifier, all you have to do is go to this tab and increase the depth. I will be selecting the depth value to be about 12 to increase much more crevices, the detailed crevices all over the structures. And then for the third time, I'll be introducing another Subsurf Modifier to smooth these things even a level up. So this was the candle body that I have created. I'm pretty much satisfied with this thing, so let us move on. Now it's time for me to create the wick of the candle. So the wick, in order to create the wick, I will be selecting this top vertex of the candle body and snap my 3D cursor over there by hitting Shift S and then selecting cursor to select it, snapping my cursor just on top of these crevices, or the top of the candle body. Now for the wick to be modeled, I'll add another mesh which will be a cylinder as well, and scale it down to about and I have to scale it down. And for the scalings, I'll press Shift Z to lock the scaling to the z-axis other than the z-axis. Then I'll just hover my mouse up so as to scale it down a little bit, maybe this. And having done this, I'll just drag it downward, and then maybe I can also add some loop cuts to create that kind of curved areas or the curved shape of the wick. So selecting the top of this edge flow and pressing O, turning the proportionality on, and just move it right about there and just move it a little bit, and then scale it down. And thus our wick has been created. Pretty nice, isn't it? So let me rename this as wick, and it's now time to create the flames. So as I have already stated that I don't want a smoke simulation. I want to be ascribing any smoke simulation to this scene, because honestly speaking, candle flames are very timid type of flame, and it does not require any velocity. So ascribing a smoke simulation to a candle flame is just I don't want that. So I'll just go to the basic modeling of the flame and then animating them with a proper material node setup, so as to create much more realistic effect as we get a result from a DSLR camera or something like that. So now it's time to snap my cursor in this position. So Shift S, cursor to selected, and then Shift A, go to the and add a UV sphere for the scene. And let me scale it down a little bit, and then go to the edit mode, selecting the top vertex with the proportional editing on. Just drag it up a little bit until it resembles something like this, and an egg shaped, very thin egg shaped, tall thin egg shaped. And it's now time to just decrease the thickness of the y-axis. Okay, so I'm pretty much satisfied with this, and maybe I have to scale it down because the flame is way too big. Maybe, yeah, and yes, I'm pretty much satisfied with it. Maybe I have to drag it down a little bit and drag this down a little bit as well. And yay, we have created a candle. Let me rename this as flame. So we have created a candle which is looking pretty nice. And there's one more thing left with this scene, is to add a base or platform for the scene, so as the light will be bouncing back. So by pressing Shift C and snapping my cursor to the center of the grid flow, I'll just go ahead and add a plane and scale it up to about 8 size. So this is rename it as flow or base, whatever you want. So we have created a scene, and I'm happy with it. Now it's time for me to save my project. Let me go to the desktop folder and save this one as candle, and let me save this one. Okay, having done this, it's now time to create or to animate this flame. How to animate that? I will be adding, let's just snap the cursor over there, and what I'll be doing is add a modifier, which will be a displacement modifier, and the displacement modifier of the candle will be controlled by an empty object. So if I'm moving the empty object, the flame will start to act with the displacement modifier in it, so it will be animated just like a flame does. Let me just give you a visual aid about this. The first step is to add an empty, which will be a plane axis, and drag it about somewhere about there, and then go selecting the flame, adding a modifier which will be a displacement modifier, of course, and going to the texture tab, clicking on the image and selecting clouds as well. And for the size, I'll be representing 1.7, way too big, or maybe full value, maybe 2. Yeah, 2 will be good. And returning back to this modifiers tab, let me just put the strength down to about 0.5, maybe 0.3 is good. Yeah, 0.3. And for the texture coordinate, I'll be selecting an object. The duplicate object will be the empty. So now, if I am moving, selecting this empty, if I'm moving the empty, you can see that the candle is actually animating. Isn't it nice? Let me just increase the strength about a little bit, maybe 5 will be good, and let us see. What do you say about that? Isn't it wonderful? I know it's wonderful. Admit that it's wonderful. Okay, enough with the glamorings. Now another thing that I'll be doing is to add a Subsurf Modifier to smooth the planes a little bit. And if I'm now moving the cursor, you can see that the interaction of the displacement modifier is pretty good with this flame. Now, in order to give this empty and automatic movement, I will be snapping the cursor to the empty and then introduce a curve which will be a circle, a Bezier circle, say, and then rotate it along the x-axis for 90 degrees and scale it about there, and then bring it right about there and apply rotation and scale to the Bezier circle. Now selecting the empty and then by pressing shift selecting this Bezier curve. If I'm entering Control P and set the parent to the object instead of object, I'll be selecting follow path. Now if I'm playing the animation, this is awesome. But one thing I found out that after the 100th frame, the MT has stopped moving. This is because of the fact by selecting this curve and going to this curves tab, the number of frames is limited to about 100. So if you are increasing to maybe about 300, it will take a much slower pace, and the flame will be interacting as well with much slower pace than it was doing before. And this is good. This is good enough, and it's looking quite nice. So I will save my project. So we have done the animation, we have done the modeling. Now it's time to introduce a camera, and that is where all magic will happen, because the camera settings will determine how much photorealism we will be doing. So let us introduce the camera by hitting Shift A, go to the camera, and by pressing and holding Control Alt and number at 0, I have automatically aligned this camera to the front view, or to the view that I was actually having. Now for this camera settings we have to do a lot of work. First one is to change the camera presets. I personally like Canon APS-C, which is good enough, and for the focal length I give 65mm of the focal length, and for the sensor I'll leave it wherever it is. And another thing, I'll be turning on the rule of thirds, and for the depth of field, the focus will be obviously the flame with the aperture to about f-stop and the number to be about 0.1. This is very, very important because I haven't applied any metric scale for the units, so 0.1 will be good enough to produce a good depth of field, leaving everything blurred out. But if you are applying a unit scale, don't do with such a low number of f-stop value, because it will ruin your scene. Instead, if you are actually using a metric scale, maybe the f-stop value of 1.4 or 1.3 is good enough for this kind of a macro photography style. And for the blades, I will be increasing the blades to about 2. And now it's time to align or properly align this camera with that of the object. Now pressing and holding Control and then holding mouse wheel down, and then if I am dragging my mouse backward or down, you can see that the camera is actually getting a proper alignment with that of the object we have created. Now let me just put it right about there, because I want the wick to be seen a little bit, and maybe about this is looking much better. Yep, it's looking much better. And let me set this one. And now we have done with the modelings, we have done with the animation, and it's now time to introduce the materials for the scene. So I'll be splitting my viewport, the window, to two divisions. The second one, I'll be selecting the node editor, and we at first I'll be introducing. Let me just selecting this one. Let me just snap my cursor to select it, and Shift A to introduce a lamp, and the lamp will be a point lamp, which is much good, or which is actually which will interact perfectly with the scene. And this point level will be, I'll just point it just above camera lens. And for the strength of this camera lamp, I will be selecting 20. And the size of this camera lamp isn't so much. It is not so much valuable, but the light of the camera or the light of the point level will be important. So instead of giving a very base color to it, I will just introduce a black body node, convert this color to about the temperature of about 2500, so as to give it a warm orange tint or red tint lightings, and yeah, like that. Now it's time for the world node to be set. By using nodes, I'll just turn it all the way down to black. So everything will be blackened. Just only the candle will be visible, and thus the depth of field will be added with much greater pace. As you can see, even the candle has got a lot of blurriness, which is good enough. Now it's time for creating the materials of the candle, the wax material. How to do that? So clicking on new, the first shader will be a subsurface scattering, and the second one will be a glossy shader. Now these two will be interacted with a mix shader with a factor of about 50%. So 50% of the subsurface scattering and 50% of the glossiness. And if I'm connecting this shader to the surface of the material output, you can see that it has got much better or much like a wax substance all over it. Now you can tweak with the roughness of this glossy shader. I'll just leave it to about 0.18, which is a little bit of a glossiness to be interacted, or a little bit of a shiny material all over it. And now it's time for this subsurface scattering to be tweaked. The first thing, the follow-up I will be selecting Gaussian blur, and for the scale I'll be giving 0.8, and the radius, or the input value of the radius, is actually RGB curve. The first one for the red value I'll be giving 1.8, which is good enough. For the green value I'll be putting 1.2, and for the blue value I'll be using 0.3, and there it is. We have got a little bit of a waxy material for our candle, and it's looking quite nice because there's a good interaction between these two. And yep, that's all for this wax material. Now it's time to create a material for this week. Yeah, for this week. So for the week, I'll just give a very base material of black color, because weeks are normally black in color. And for the flame, this is where all the tweaking needs to be done. Now, how to do that? It's pretty simple. Once you are following it by heart, you can create a good result like I have created. So creating a new texture, a new material, and deleting the diffuse BSDF, and instead I'll be using an emission shader. Automatically you will see that our candle has got a little bit of an illumination, but this is a basic white emission shader. Instead of giving it a proper or a very base white, I'll be using a color ramp node, which will be plugged to the color input of this emission shader. So go into the converter and adding a color ramp, plugging this color output to the color input of this emission shader, and then selecting the interpolation from linear to B-spline so as to give a much smoother result. Now it's time to to create some of the slides. The first slide, which is a black channel. Now it's you have to do a little bit of a settings here. I've written it already because I've tweaked a lot and I've rendered a lot, and finally I am satisfied with these settings in the color ramp. So let's get into it. The first one is the black channel. The position will be set to about 0.055 and leaving it right over there, and the color is obviously a hex value of 0. Everything is set to 0, which is good. And then we will be using another slide. The second slide will be the blue channel. The position of that will be 0.214. Yeah, something around there. And for the color, the hex value of this second blue channel will be 111866, and thus we have created a blue channel for this for the flame. And the third one will be an orange tint, with the position for the third channel will be 0.427, and the hex value, the color for the hex value will be, just type FFC39A and just hitting enter. We have created a little bit of an orange tint of the flame. And then for the fourth channel, I'll be using the position for the fourth channel will be 0.514, leaving it right over there. And for the color channel, with the hex value will be FBP29E. So this is the channel for the fourth one, FBP29E. Yeah, like that. And for the fifth one will be this one. The position of it will be 0.859, and the color input of this hex value will be FF3B1B. Let me just type it. Okay, FF3B1B. Hitting on enter. So this is the transition of these colors. I hope you guys have done it. But still we cannot get that kind of a result. Why is that? Because the factor value is set to be about 20% of these 5 channels, and taking them all together and mixing them or clumping them and creating some sort of a base color out of these channels. So how to interpolate or how to have an intersection of these factors? We will be introducing a texture which will be a wave texture, and the wave texture will control or command over these 5 different color channels. So plugging the factor to the factor of the color ramp will substantially give us a wave texture all over, a wave pattern all over the flame that we have created. Now we will be dealing with we will be treating with the settings of this wave texture. Also, the scale will be set to 0.1, and then the distortion to be about -12.2, which is good enough. And yeah, that's it. That's everything. And another part to be done is to change the profile from sine to soft, which will give us a good result. This is the interpolation of the color. Now you can see that the texture is not actually applied uniformly, so you can just rotate your flame a little bit along the z-axis to just make the blue one facing the camera. And here we are. So we have created a good flame, but it's not going too much, so I'll just increase the strength to about 5 of this emission, and here we are. Let me just rotate it along the z-axis. a little bit. And here we are. We have created a good interception of these color channels, and it's already looking quite nice. Now we have to introduce something even more. With this emission node as a first hand, I will be introducing another shader, which is a transparent shader, so that we can have a see-through right through this mesh, or right through the flame. So fading it with a mix shader and plugging this transparent to that of the second shader, and you can see that the fact it's actually taking 50% of the emission and 50% of the transparent, which is not so good. So the factor I will be giving is to be about 0.25, or you can also introduce another input, which will be a layer weight, and connecting the facing to the factor, which will create even much more of a good result. And yep, we have created a good candle flame. Isn't it wonderful? Now, one thing you can also add, if you want to give it instead of giving it a proper or a very base type of shape, you can also use some volume scattering in order to create some sort of a volumetric lights. This volume scatter, connecting the volume to the volume, and then decreasing the density to about 0.1, it will increase even much more of the flame-like structure. So we have done with these things, and let me just for a betterment of this, let me just change the point lamp to about the area lamp, and now you can see that we are getting much far better result than it was before. And yep, that's it. So for the base, instead of giving white diffuse color, we just using a very grayish tone, so that this kind of the light will be bounced, but not too much, so as to give us a much more interception or much realistic look than that usually happens when we take a picture with the ISO value and the shutter speed and everything else. And yes, it is looking rather nice, isn't it? Tell me it's looking very good. And yes, we have created a very good, on a very simple way, with a very simple process. We have achieved this kind of professional type of looking render. And, okay, now let me just save this project, and let's give it a quick render in order to see whether what I was saying was perfect or not. So I'll just decrease my samples to about 50, and we'll see how this scene is actually interacting. And let me just decrease the resolution to about 50% for the sake of the tutorial, and let us hit F12 to see how this scene is implemented. And it's looking quite nice. Yay! We have created a good candle. Now the thing is to be done, which is the rest of the work is to be done in the compositor. So I'll be splitting my 3D window to two divisions, and the second one will be again the node editor, but this time I'll be clicking on this one and click use nodes, and then click on backdrop. Now let us add some glaring or glowy effects on the flame. So just hit Shift A, go to the filter, and selecting a glare node, and instead of streaks, I'll just select a fog glow, and the threshold I'll be selecting 0.8, and the size to be about, increasing the size to about 9, and we are done with it. Voila, we have created a pretty good render with Blender. Yes, and let me set this one again, and this time I will be let me just increase a little bit of a settings to be done, a little bit of tweakings, maybe just increasing the flame a little bit will be much more handy. Simple, yes, it is doing a lot of, it's doing a lot better now. And let me come back with this. Let me just render the entire animation, and for the sake of the tutorial I'll be selecting the end frame to be about 100, and I will just render it with the low samples because it's for the sake of the tutorial. I don't want to exaggerate things much because the main part of our scene is the flame itself. So I'll just give it render, a very low sample render, a very quick render actually. And for the format I'll be selecting FFmpeg video, and for the encoding I'll be selecting MPEG-4, basic MP4 quality, medium speed, everything will be very intact. And the output folder is just the desktop and name as Camera animation, and that's it there. And before clicking on this one, let me just before ending of my tutorial, let me just hit on animation, and I'll be pausing my video record, and I'll come back once the rendering is done. Okay, so be patient and let's see how it's done. Okay, so the rendering is done, and you can see, playing through the animation, you can see that there is a very good interaction. The flame is rendered in a very slow pace, and it's looking quite nice. And trust me, if you are rendering this animation with an increased sample, it will give you much better results. So this ends the tutorial. I hope you guys like this. If you like my videos and tutorials, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I'm very much thankful to all of you who have subscribed, and it's been a very few days I've achieved. I'm very much thankful to all of you who have achieved 104 subscribers. Thank you to all of you. It inspires me a lot. And yeah, that's it for today. I'm Sumit signing off, and once again, Happy New Year in advance. Sorry about that. Peace.